there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Rise of the Tomb Raider Survivor difficulty walkthrough. We're entering the Soviet installation, and this is part 1 of 2. But before we do that, we've got a little glacial cavern to get through here, and you're going to be introduced to the water system in this game. So, if you don't know, guys, holding your breath in cold water is considerably harder to do because it's a bigger strain on your body. I always kind of knew this because I watched a documentary about diving a long time ago, but I've never really thought about it too much in games until I played this game. So whenever you dive in this game and you swim underwater, Lara starts dying very fast because she can't hold her breath for very long because the water's very cold, and I think that's the reason that the developers are going with. So you'll find at times when you're doing those swimming sections that you'll die. And I've never died on a swimming section in a game unless it was, you know, had mines or enemies or something like that. I've never just drowned because I'm usually quite resourceful and I don't do that. But on this game, she can hold her breath for about 10 seconds and maybe less, and then she starts fucking dying. And when you're playing on Survivor, you don't regen the same way because it's been turned off, so you have to heal. So you take damage from swimming into the next fight, which makes the next fight harder unless you're using the healing system. So there's a lot of repercussions to the way they've designed it, and it's definitely a bit of a difference to a lot of games I've played. But once you appreciate how the game works, you should be okay. And the way that I do it is don't hold the left trigger when you're swimming. Only press it enough to go under to get past whatever's blocking you, and then just tap B. And what this will do is this will make Lara swim the fastest she can swim, and then she'll come up whenever there is an opportunity to do so. So you're never underwater any longer than you need to be. And that seems to work really well. There's still one area coming up where I take damage from swimming because it's a long swim, and I haven't really figured out a quicker way of doing that. Maybe there's an air pocket. It doesn't really matter because after that there's a campfire, so it's okay. But right now, this is me showing you an optional tomb. Said I wasn't going to do these, and that's true, but I wanted to do the first one just to give you an example of the type of stuff that you get and what it's worth to you. So in my opinion, doing the tombs is very important because not only do you get resources that help you play the game, but they also give you abilities earlier. So you're going to get abilities to do specific things with weapons, specific things with Lara, just from completing these environmental puzzles, so it's definitely worth your attention. I'm not doing this right. I need to climb the thing to my left. Just the wall just there. Because you need to get onto the masts. There we go. You're on the ball, Chris. Get your sent up. So I definitely think I definitely recommend doing them. Because it's win-win. It makes your character better, and it'll make the game easier. If you can do all 9 tombs before doing, you know, like the final areas of the game, you're going to be almost indestructible. Because you get some seriously good gear in some of those later tombs. On my first playthrough, I didn't do any of the tombs that involved the rebreather because I didn't go back once I had it. I was too busy going forward. So I had about 7 of them done, and I had a pretty damn strong Lara for what it was. So I was really enjoying the progression of the character because I do think in this game she's very strong. That being said, she was very strong in the last game, you know, she's just a strong character. But winch this and then race it so that you can get to the end and jump onto it as it's raising. And then you can break the ice. Pretty simple stuff. Might take you a few minutes to figure out on your first playthrough, but for them... Oh, do not drop off this, by the way. If you drop off this before she says something, you'll fall off and die. I do that all the time because I'm really impatient. There's so many moments where you fall in this game and you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with this game? And a lot of the times I try and look at it and see what I could have done better, but there are some moments where you're just like, I can't blame myself here. I want to, but I can't. And I've tried. I've really tried. Like, when you're not recording, there's no reason to talk to yourself, and there's no reason to try and explain and expiate blame on every single circumstance. So you just look at it in a much better way than you would, for instance, if you're recording a playthrough. So it's just that thing where, what could I have done differently? And I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know what I tried to do, and it just didn't work. And it does happen. But this is a good part to start talking about the more open-ended sections of Rise of the Tomb Raider. So you'll do linear levels, and then you'll come to an area that is open, wide open, rather large, with branching paths. In those branching paths, you are then able to do whatever you want to do within them. You can scour them for loot, you can investigate the caves, you can do the optional tombs, and then the next one we're coming to in a moment, you're going to be able to talk to potential allies, and these people are going to give you missions. And these missions range from breaking things, to climbing up and rescuing prisoners, to all kinds of different stuff, shooting drones out of the sky, really weird shit. But when you do this, you get rewards, and these rewards are actually pretty damn useful, so they're definitely worth your time. This is a walkthrough though, and I wanted it to be straight to the point, no nonsense. So what I'm going to do, folks, is, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to do the first side mission to get the lockpick, and then I'm going to do no more. And all you have to do to get the lockpick is break 6 of these machines. See that just then? That was me dying. And that was how long it took for me to take damage from swimming. So it really isn't what you're used to, but you should only die maybe 2 to 3 times there and be like, okay, I need to be quick here. There's no fucking about looking for treasure underwater. It's just not this game at that point. Until you get the rebreather, then you can do that. But before that, it's a bit of a nightmare at first. It really is, because it's so different to anything I'd ever played. But do the missions, folks. That's kind of the point of what I'm saying. It'll just make the game easier for you. If you're looking, of course, to make the game harder, there are a couple of pretty simple things you can do. Firstly, don't upgrade your life or any of that stuff. Don't wear any of the armor or the outfits that give you the ability to heal quicker. And if you want to make the game even harder, don't use your bow. The bow is probably the most powerful thing in this game. I can clear out 90% of this game with the bow alone. And that's not because I'm some kind of fucking crazy Rambo guy. I'm just a normal player like you. But it's that good. You know, they've given you the capabilities to really, really impress with the bow and really do some heavy damage on almost any situation. And it's a great tool. But that would be a great way of making the game a bit more challenging. Additionally, you could try and do something like no damage. No damaging this game is definitely possible, it's just tricky. In fact, I think it'd probably be quite easy. It'd just take a little bit longer, and at this moment in time I don't have the luxury of taking my time with this walkthrough, because I fucked up, guys, I did, and I'm sorry about that. I'm weak at times, you know, I try and be motivated and I try and push forward, and sometimes it works great, other times it doesn't, and this was one of those moments where it really fucking suffered, and I've got no excuse, so I'm not even going to waste the breath. But I didn't make this when I should have. This should have been made the day after it came out. It's just not how that worked. But here is a stealth section. We're going to take out this first guy. You'll get an achievement for stopping him mid-conversation. Doesn't affect the game, unlike in some games where it sets off alarms. Then all you need to do is pick up the bottle, toss it over there. As soon as the one guy to the right turns around and moves towards it, you want to go and choke out his friend. Something I have to discuss here. There is 2 parts of an upgrade tree. One of them is for silent dropping, so that when you drop down from a surface you don't make any noise. And then once you have that skill, you can purchase a skill which makes your takedowns silent. Did you see what I just did then? I choked that motherfucker when he was 5 yards from him and he didn't hear it. Doesn't make any sense. There are times where the choking stealth kill is completely silent without the need for the upgrade. So it makes me wonder what the upgrade really does. And don't get me wrong, guys, there are moments when I've took people out from behind where people have seen, but it has never been when they had their back to me. If they had their back to me, they never hear it, regardless of upgrade. So what is the upgrade exactly doing? It seems really weird to me, that. I'd love to be able to mention it to a dev, but it's one of those situations. And then this is the second of the bigger stealth areas in this Soviet area. So there's a first dude here. Don't take him out too quickly because his buddies will see. Wait until they turn around and then pull him into this bush. Once he's dead, we're going to progress forward a little bit. I'm going to try something weird here and it doesn't work, so just ignore this. I could have trimmed it out, but my idea was to try and use the bottle, but did you see that? She dropped it when I landed. And I lost my bottle. So I grab this one and I try and drop off again, or am I just going to chuck it? Here we go. That was better. So it was weird. Falling off backwards made me lose my bottle. But all I wanted, folks, was a bottle, so that I could lure a guy to this hedge and then I could pull him into it. Because they've definitely seen you know, The Last of Us, and they thought that they'd use some of those features. Because out of Last of Us, when was the last time you used a mechanic to lure people that frequently? Like, some games have had them in the past. Tons of games have had them, let's be fair here. But not many have had them where it was such the main focal point to what you were doing. Like, Hitman Absolution had a pretty big feature of using bottles to distract. Far Cry is a game that has a feature where you can throw stones to distract. You know, it's often underlooked because it's one of those things you don't necessarily have to do, so a lot of people don't. This is weird too, watch this. I take this guy down. This has been silent this entire time. But somebody knows where I am. You see, that is red. Red means he knows where I am. How could he have physically seen me then? So this guy is going to melee you. So you want to try and dodge him and get the counter. I don't understand the dodge counter. It's kind of weird. There are times where she'll stab them in the ankle, and there are times when she'll stab them in the throat. And it doesn't seem to matter where you press the button on it. I think it's armoured enemies that she stabs in the leg because they're too strong to be instantly killed. But aside from that, I couldn't honestly tell you why it does that. But just so you know, sometimes you'll not get the instant kill, so just be aware of it. It's not a bad thing, it'd be nice if it did it every single time when she had that upgrade to do the instant kill on the smaller enemies. But there's a couple of dudes here. This is not how this went my first time through the game. My first time through the game, nobody saw me when I was walking through that room. I came up here, I choked out a dude, and I was done. And I got the stealthy bonus, which is like plus 125 or whatever, plus 75. But for whatever reason, folks, he saw a body and he got immediately alerted, which is not how the game works. When they see bodies, they go and investigate. They don't immediately go red. Just weird. One of those strange moments. The music just gave us an indication that the combat was over just then, which is always nice. And of course Lara stood up, which is another one of those signifiers that you're safe. And the thing I really like about this game, even though I'm going to criticise it later on in one aspect, is the fact that all these encounters, pretty much 90% of the encounters on this game, can be done in one swift motion, following one strict pattern that works every time. This fucked up just then. There's no two words about it. I made a mistake somewhere there, and it fucked it up. But normally it doesn't. So you can get through there stealthily and take out that last guy up there and have no issue. And it works like that most of the times. But there are so many sequences in this game where you can find these amazing patterns where you choke him, you kill him, you throw a Molotov at those guys, you stab that guy, you fire a poison grenade at the reinforcements or whatever, and you're done. And I love that. I love being able to figure out those awesome, lethal, quick approaches that gets rid of everybody and it doesn't turn into a firefight. And the game is full of it. And I'm going to show you some amazing ones that you perhaps have already discovered yourself because it just works so well. And once you appreciate that, you know, Molotovs can do this and the poison arrows, sorry, not grenades, can do this, and, you know, your own capabilities with stealth, it's really great. And there's one hint I want to give to you, just in case you've not realised this. When you first get to an area, as opposed to when you restart a checkpoint and it puts you in that area, the patterns are completely different. They will follow the same pattern, yes, but the timing will be off. So my recommendation for a lot of the strategies that you're watching here, guys, is if it doesn't work for you on that first attempt, probably means that I did it off a restart checkpoint. And of course you don't see it because it's editedly... I was going to say edited seamlessly, but I just kind of fucked it up. And you don't see it. But it doesn't mean it's not happening. And it's the same with any walkthrough, any video, guys. What you don't see would astound you, because that's the nature of walkthroughs. This one lesser, to a lesser extent, because I think I died 3 times in the recording of this. One of them was when I got jumped by wolves, just ambiently, when I was moving through the level. One of them attacked me from the front, so I started aiming at him, and 3 of them jumped me from behind. It was amazing. It was like Jurassic Park. Clever girled my ass. It was wonderful. But outside of that, falling off doesn't count. If we count falling off, I must have fell off like 20 fucking times. Because as I've mentioned, platforming in this game, every so often, shits the bed. But actually being killed, it might have been less than 3. I'd have to look at the splits to see where I edited things. But we've got a pistol now. And I'm going to show you a cover trick here, where I'm aiming out the side rather than using the cover system, and if you put the aimer on their heads, it's a headshot, which is an instant kill. I love that mechanic. I think if you can put your aimer on an enemy's head and they're not wearing some kind of protection, it should always instantly kill them. It should always sound great, and it should always have some really good feedback. This game does it wonderfully. I absolutely adore that mechanic. Do I think certain enemies should have helmets and you have to knock those off before you hit them in the face? Definitely. Because I do think that it gets to a point where you can kill people really effectively and the game suffers because of this, because there's nobody in there who's mixing it up. I don't think it's a bad thing though. And I say this because I've watched people express opinions that the fact that the headshots on this game are so easy to do that it makes the game too easy. And there's an element of that that's definitely true, but I still think there's more to be discussed, which we will do, as I keep mentioning, a little bit later. So this pattern works every time. Choke the first guy, hit him with an arrow, move to your right, pick up the lantern, get in position to the right guy so that you can take him out, and then lantern the two fellas, and then take out the right guy. It works beautifully. And this is where I fucked up, guys, because I'm going to get blown up by this computer that I'm near here, and it's going to make me restart, and it's going to put me outside the door on the right. So chuck that, and then stealth kill him. Once you do that, the door's going to blow up. Once the door blows up, there's going to be one of those guys that runs at you with the pistol. And move away from where I am, or you're going to get knocked down. Because this guy's coming, I know he's coming, I charge my arrow. I miss my arrow because I'm bad at the game. And then I move towards the right. This is a mistake. Where I am right now is where the explosion's going to go when this guy dies. There it is. So I take a hit. I'm not happy about the hit. I go to restart, and look where it puts me. I was not there, game. That is bullshit. And now I'm in a really bad spot because there's this tosser running at me, and there's his friend who's in better cover than me, and I'm trying to get the dodge counter, and I'm failing. But I get it there. Put it through his leg. You are not invincible when you do these takedowns, so do not think you've got iframes because you don't. And then all I need to do here is shoot the barrel. But I'm making arrows, and it would have made it so quicker. So instead I try and hit him, and watch that. How much bullshit's that, dude? Oh, I hate it. And now you're going to have to put up with the blood on the fucking screen, because that guy is an aimbot, and he shot me the frame I moved out of cover. Which I don't think's fair at all, but there you go. Shoot the barrel, mitigate the problems, and then push forward. So you can't do anything to that junction box, which makes me feel like you should. You just have to sidle your ass over here, and we're going to be pushing into the next encounter. The good news is there's a camp just in front of us, so we can get rid of the blood. But this is what the screen looks like when you take damage. And it stays like that forever. So annoying. But if you heal, and your hold is at the left bumper, use your berries and shit, you can get rid of it. But that's just not how I've been playing the game, so... Upgrade time. Very important. Keep on top of your upgrades, picking the stuff that appeals to you. The stuff that I recommend. Anything that increases what you find, loot-wise. More resources, that kind of stuff. I recommend getting the dodge counter, all of them. I recommend getting the light foot so that you can land from certain heights without taking damage. I recommend the silent takedown stuff, and I recommend the ones that augment your weapons. The incendiary shells for the shotgun is a great tool. Hollow points for the pistol's great. The explosive arrow, when it turns into multiple explosives, the fire arrow that does the same, increasing the cloud on the poison arrow, all really, really good upgrades, but you can only get them at a certain point, so don't get too eager. And then, of course, keeping up on your weapons. So there's a couple things to consider here. You're using the same pool of resources to upgrade your equipment, so you need to pick the ones that you want. I would recommend focusing on your pouches so that you can carry more ammunition and make the weapons more useful, because it generally takes the most resources to do this, and if you're upgrading your weapons, it's going to take away those resources and you're not going to be able to do them. So it's all a balancing act, and it's entirely preference based, but I recommend increasing the capacity of the shotgun, and I recommend increasing the capacity of your bow and arrow, because it's going to give you more arrows to do awesome things with, and it's just going to pay off in the end. But what's going to happen here, guys, is we're moving towards a zipline that's going to take us into the one of the bigger areas to explore, which is the kind of this open Soviet installation, and I'm going to be doing the first side quest to get the pick lock thing, and then we're going to be progressing on with the game. Pretty simple stuff, and so far everything's smooth sailing. We haven't got to a sequence that I would call challenging. The first challenging section coming up is going to be the first introduction to the, I think it's the shield guy or the armoured guy. and the firefight just before him, because the cover is not the best, and it's pretty tricky. But I've got a good strategy, and hopefully it can work off for you. And that's all you have to think about, guys. This game is only tricky in moments where it forces combat on you, and it puts Laura in a spot where she can't get into good cover, or she can't put herself in a power position. If you can do any of those, what I just mentioned, you'll have no issue. Thank you very much for watching. You take care now.